You ever visit a website from halfway across the world and it just loads instantly, like it's hosted on a server right in your own house? Well, I promise you it's not magic. Today we're going to pull back the curtain and see exactly how it works. We're diving into how to supercharge your own website using Amazon CloudFront's caching features. So here's what we've got on tap. We'll kick things off with the problem that literally every website has to deal with. Then we'll get into the solution, caching. From there, we'll cover the pro tips to really get the most out of it, add an extra layer of protection with something called Origin Shield, and then, finally, we'll build in a safety net to make your site not just fast, but pretty much unbreakable.
You know, every single millisecond that a user is sitting there waiting for your page to load, you're at risk of losing them for good. That delay, that's what we call latency, and it's a killer. On top of that, every request that comes in puts a little more strain on your main server. We call that origin load. So these two things, latency and origin load, are the big challenges we're here to tackle today.
We've all been there, right? You click a link, one site just snaps into view. The next one feels like it's being delivered by dial-up modem. What is going on there? What's the secret? Well, the secret, it really just boils down to geography. It's physics. The farther away your user is from your web server, the longer it takes for all that data to travel across the wires. So the real key to getting that incredible speed is to just shrink that distance. You got to bring your content as close to your users as you possibly can.
And that brings us right to our performance shortcut, caching. This is really the foundational tech that makes the modern internet feel so fast. It's our absolute best first line of defense against both latency and server overload.
So what even is caching? It's actually pretty simple. CloudFront basically makes copies of your website's files, your images, your videos, all that stuff, and it stores those copies in data centers all around the globe. We call these edge locations. So if a user in Tokyo visits your site that's hosted, say, in Virginia, they don't have to wait for the data to travel all the way from the US. Nope, they get it from a nearby cache right there in Japan.
The best way to think about this is like a busy coffee shop, okay? You go in, you order a coffee. The first thing the barista does is check that big pre-made batch of drip coffee. If it's there, that's a cache hit. Boom, you get your coffee instantly. But if that batch is empty, that's a cache miss. Now the barista has to stop and brew a whole new pot from scratch. That's going to take a while. Our goal, obviously, is to have as many of those instant coffees, as many cache hits, as we can possibly get.
And that brings us to what is, without a doubt, the single most important number here, the cache hit ratio. All this is the percentage of times your users get their content served instantly from that nearby edge cache. And here's the bottom line. The higher your cache hit ratio, the faster your site feels, the less work your server has to do, and the less you pay in data transfer costs. It's a win-win-win.
Okay, this is where it gets fun. How do we actually increase that ratio? See, it's not enough to just flip a switch and turn caching on. You've got to be smart about how you configure it. We've basically got four main knobs we can turn here. We can control how long our stuff lives in the cache, and then we can get super granular with how we handle different requests based on things like query strings, cookies, and headers. Nailing these is the absolute key to getting a sky-high cache hit ratio. First up, expiration. It's super simple. You use a little header called cache control max age to tell CloudFront exactly how many seconds it should hang onto a file before checking for a new one. Now, for stuff that doesn't change often, like your company logo or a CSS file, you can set this to a really long time, like a month or even a year. That's a huge, easy win for performance. Now check this out. This is one of those things that seems so small, but it can wreck your cache. Let's say one person requests an image with color equal red and then size equals large. And another person requests the exact same image, but they list size equals large first and then color equal red. To you and me, that's the same request. But to CloudFront, those are two totally different URLs, so it creates two separate cached objects. That's a completely wasted cache miss. The fix? It's so easy. Just always list your parameters in the same order.
Okay, cookies and headers. They are powerful, but man, you have to be careful. The most common mistake is just forwarding every single cookie. If you do that, and one of them is a unique session ID for each user, you just told CloudFront to create a separate cached version of an image for every single person visiting your site. That's a complete disaster for your cache hit ratio. The same thing goes for headers. Don't cache based on the user agent header. There are thousands of variations. Instead, use CloudFront's built-in headers that just tell you if the user is on a desktop or a mobile device. Much cleaner.
All right, we've tuned up our edge caches. They're working great. But what if we could add another, even more powerful caching layer into the mix? Let's talk about Origin Shield. This thing is a genuine supercharger for your whole setup.
So Origin Shield is basically an extra layer of caching that you put right in front of your main server. Remember our coffee shop? Think of this like a regional distribution center. Now, all those little coffee shops are edge caches. They don't have to call the main roastery across the country every time they run out. They just call their regional hub. It's way closer and way more efficient.
Look, without Origin Shield, here's what happens. Say you upload a new video. A user in North America requests it, a user in Europe requests it, and a user in Asia requests it, all at the same time. That means 3 separate requests for the exact same file are all hammering your main server. It's just inefficient, and it puts all this unnecessary strain on your Origin.
But now, look at this. With Origin Shield in place, all 3 of those regional caches send their request to the Shield. The Shield then turns around and makes just one single request to your Origin. It gets the file and then serves it out to all 3 regions. Just like that, your server's load, in this example, is cut by 2/3. That's not just a tiny tweak, that is a game-changing improvement in both efficiency and cost.
So our site is blazing fast. It's super efficient. We're done, right? Well, not quite. Speed doesn't mean a thing if your site is down. So now we need to shift gears from performance to resilience. It's time to build a safety net for when things, inevitably, go wrong. And that safety net has a name: Origin Failover. The concept is so simple, but it is incredibly powerful. You just set up your main primary server, and then you set up a second one as a backup. If CloudFront detects any kind of trouble with the primary, it just automatically and instantly switches all the traffic over to the backup.
So here's how it plays out in real time. A user requests some content. CloudFront sends that request to your primary server. Uh-oh, let's say that server is down, or it returns an error. Well, without missing a single beat, CloudFront just reroutes that exact same request to your secondary server. The user gets their content, and they have absolutely no idea that a failure ever even happened. It's completely seamless.
And you get to decide exactly what triggers this failover. You can set it up to kick in on specific server errors, like a 503 service unavailable, or just if CloudFront can't connect at all, or if the connection just takes too long and times out. It's a really robust system that's designed to handle all sorts of different failure scenarios.
So there you have it. We've really gone on a full journey here, from just making a website fast by closing the distance to making it truly resilient and ready for pretty much anything.
So let's just recap the biggest takeaways. Number 1, caching is all about closing the distance to your users to slash latency. 2, your North Star metric is your cache hit ratio. Always be optimizing that. 3, get that ratio up by being smart about your expiration times, your query strings, cookies, and headers. 4, use Origin Shield to supercharge your cache and protect your main server. And finally, number 5, use Origin Failover as your safety net for true high availability. And that really just leaves us with one final question to think about. You've worked hard, your website is fast, but is it resilient? When your primary server eventually goes down, and trust me, one day it will, what's your plan B?